Hey guys, welcome back to Anime Gossips. This is my recap for the anime Solo Leveling. The story begins with a battle 3 years ago in the midst of the oceans. The captain of the Navy boat on patrol says their weapons can't cause any damage to the mysterious being they were attacking. Meanwhile, low-level hunters came around to fight back, but they were defeated. Considering the current situation, S-rank hunters came to their rescue. First, it was Byung-gu, an S-rank healer. He was able to rescue the leader of the low-level squad. Before he was done, another monster aimed at him from behind, but his other comrade came to his rescue. They fought the monster bit by bit as they showed forth according to their level of might, while Byung-gu looked after the wounded. Over 10 years ago, a series of gates began appearing in the human world. The other side of these gates is filled with monster creatures called magic beasts. These beasts are immune to conventional weaponry. Those who are capable of fighting back are the ones who have awakened their abilities, and they are called hunters. These hunters are ranked from S to E rank. These rankings are based on the amount of magical power contained in their bodies. However, once these powers have awakened, no amount of individual effort can ever result in greater strength. To the present day, at the Hunter's Park, it's another day for raiding either a dungeon or a cave. It's called a raid outing, and every hunter is all set and present. Mr. Park, a friend of Mr. Kim who quit hunting after his wife got pregnant with their second kid, resumes that day. Kim is surprised to see Mr. Park. Jinwoo also walks in, and everyone greets him. Even Kim says hello to him, which baffles his friend. Kim explains to him that he joined up after he quit. Jinwoo is the weakest hunter of all mankind because an ordinary trip through an E-rank gate landed him in the hospital. Kim never wanted him to overhear his discussion with his friend, but Jinwoo already heard them. On his way, a girl named Joohee interrupted his walk. She was concerned about the wound on Jinwoo's face and advised him to be more careful. They both went to a settled environment to discuss the E-rank gate raid that led him to the hospital. Jinwoo accepted that he is weak. He also told Joohee that he's used to it so that she won't be worried about him all the time. The raid outing leader convenes everyone in one place for better access and introduction. He introduced himself as Song Chio, the most skilled in the squad. The gate opened for everyone to go in. As Jinwoo was about to head in, Kim tapped him from behind and warned him to be careful so he won't get injured again. Joohee left for the raid, and she promised to give it her best. Jinwoo also wants to give it his best, but he only had a knife with him, a knife with no magical power, though that's what he could afford. With that knife, he enters the gate confidently, promising himself to be impressive at the raid outing. Elsewhere, Chairman Go just finished a meeting with the administrators. Their talking point is their usual discussion. For hunters, breaking dungeons poses problems, but the administration wants the valuable items obtained from the beasts in the dungeon. The only valuable items they obtained are shining silver stones. Chairman Go finds their demand logically sensible because the only means for hunters to make a living is by selling those items retrieved from the dungeons they raid. Jinwoo fights impressively in the raid outing, and he's able to obtain one precious silver stone. He is surprised to see his achievement, but suddenly he is attacked from behind. He fights the beast back, but his low-level knife cracks and breaks. Mr. Park comes to his rescue, but before then, he has been injured. Joohee rushes towards his direction to heal him with her healing ability. We then learn that the items retrieved from high-ranked beasts in the dungeons can be turned into powerful weapons and gear to fight other beasts. As noticed by Chairman Go, mana crystals that can be collected from the dungeons have a similar application, but are less potent, clearly stating that the government's interest in the item is for a different use. The governments are working on a way to generate electricity using essence stones and mana crystals. They want to make it a new power source. These items are safer than nuclear, more efficient than water, wind, or geothermal, and they also don't pollute the atmosphere like fossil fuels. This method is a rare fuel source that only hunters are able to collect. Chairman Go explained to his companion that the duty that now rests on the hunter's shoulders is a great one, and they need to get themselves prepared. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, the hunters celebrate after defeating the dungeon boss while Jinwoo is still receiving treatment from Joohee. Joohee was worried about Jinwoo. She wanted him to leave the life of a hunter because if not, something worse might happen. Jinwoo feels sorry and tries to apologize, but she refuses and advises him to quit the life of a hunter. She tries to make him know that she's worried about him. The leader of the raid, Mr. Song, discusses with the squad to collect their loot. Mr. Park was told by other hunters that there's not much mana crystals in that dungeon, which symbolizes low earnings for them. Jinwoo has already lost his hope because all he could show for his work is an E-rank essence stone. While he was thinking, one of the hunters calls the attention of others to a cave. The cave seems deep and far. Mr. Song was concerned to see a dungeon inside a dungeon. Seeing a double dungeon could lead to more loot for the hunters, but Mr. Song wants to follow the procedure, which is to wait for the decision of the Hunter Association. Mr. Park disagrees and suggests that they go inside since it's a D-rank dungeon. His friend Kim supports him. Mr. Song explains to them that he understands how they feel, but if they bend the rules, they need to know that it'll be a risk. Therefore, they should vote to know the opinions. They cast the vote, and the result was awful, with 6 against 6. The only hunter left to cast his vote is Jinwoo. He was asked his opinion, and then he thinks widely to know the best choice for him. His focus is the money he is going to earn, and it's because of his missing dad. He is the only one who is supporting his family. He needs money for his mother's treatment and to send his sister to college. He had no choice but to accept the challenge, even though a D-rank dungeon is dangerous for him. Elsewhere, the guild house responsible for accessing hunters is in need of high-ranked hunters. Some hunters were allowed access. 1 B-rank and 2 C-rank hunters agreed to sign the contract. Guildmaster Choi is the head of the guild house, and he was contacted with the results of the assessment. Initially, the guild is in search of someone to match Joohee, but no one could be compared to her. Joohee is an S-rank hunter with high skills and strength. 2 men on a bike grab a lady's bag and snatch it from her. She shouts for help, but no one can rescue her. Suddenly, the 2 men on the bike spot a girl in front of them. They decide to run over her, but skillfully she collects the bag from the 2 men without any harm. She returns it to the lady. However, the citizens have heard news about her good deed and her skills, and they recognize her to be Joohee. Many come close to her, but she is a shy type and someone who doesn't want to be praised. She jumps in the air from one roof to another to escape the crowd. Back in the dungeon, the hunters spent 40 minutes in the second dungeon finding the actual boss, but they didn't come across anything challenging. The gate is programmed to close until an hour after the boss is beaten. Clearly, they have 20 minutes to spare. Jinwoo apologizes to Joohee because he knows his decision caused them to raid the double dungeon. Joohee was calm for a moment, but Jinwoo kept pestering her with questions. She made it clear to Jinwoo that if he had been stabbed even just a little higher, then he wouldn't be alive. She was barely able to heal his arms and legs. Jinwoo had a thought about what Joohee said. Having a B-rank healer with him has saved his life more than once. Jinwoo admitted the accusation, and Joohee requested that Jinwoo show her some gratitude. After a long walk through the cave, the hunters locate the boss chamber. Its entrance is mighty and tall, kind of intimidating to the hunters. Kim and his friend were happy with the thought that they wouldn't be going back home empty-handed, so they moved close to the gate and called Mr. Song to open the gate. Back in the city, the Hunters Association chairman, Joohee, addresses the newly awakened who have just signed the contract of a hunter. He told them that it's been 10 years since the gate appeared, but there's still a great deal they don't know about those dungeons. He encouraged them not to let their guards down, not to be arrogant or careless. He also tells them to be afraid. Back in the dungeon, the hunters enter the chamber with confidence and bravery. As the gate is being opened, the chamber begins to light up itself, being the first thing that marvels them. The chamber is filled with huge statues. They look so old, some have instruments and are stagnant. Jinwoo stands in front of a larger statue to take a glance, but he notices the statue is more massive than the others in the chamber, and its appearance dominates the space. The hunters could not find any beasts in the chamber, but they come across strange things like a magic circle and a written ancient script. The ancient script contains the commandments of the Kartanan temple. Mr. Song steps forward to recite the commandments. As he reaches the third point, Joohee taps Jinwoo to notify him about a strange movement of the statue. She noticed that the huge statue's eyeball was moving and watching them. She sounded scared and afraid. Mr. Song finished reading the laws. The last part states that those who don't follow the laws will not leave alive. Immediately after that sentence, the door shut itself. They wondered about the cause, but one of them, out of impatience, angrily walked towards the gate to leave, only to be slaughtered by the statue standing beside the gate. After the slaughter, they all trembled, and Jinwoo began to think. He knows that the guy who just got eliminated by the statue is a D-rank hunter, which is more powerful than him, but he got eliminated, indicating that the chamber is tougher than they think. He looked back to check the huge statue, then he got shocked when it looked right back at him. Instantly, he remembered his life story. Jinwoo has stood on the precipice of death many times before. In his first raid ever, he got separated from everyone else and ended up being stranded. He has also been attacked by an E-rank beast which made him spend weeks in the hospital. He almost starved to death in a labyrinth. No matter how low ranked the dungeons are, he always fights for his life. Most hunters were able to buy gear with the money they earned from selling essence stones so they could defeat more beasts and earn more rewards, but as for him, all he could afford was a cheap knife that could crack at any point in time. Jinwoo has endured being mocked and put up with a life-threatening job where the risk outweighs the reward. But amidst all this, he has learned to keep his eyes wide open for any opportunity, which leads him to the experiences he had. Since he knew what was about to happen, he warned other hunters to get down while the huge statue fired a powerful beam at them, causing massive destruction. The hunters are horrified and can't believe what is happening there. Jinwoo thinks that they are trapped there and realizes they are all going to die. Meanwhile, paralyzed in fear, his comrades ask each other what to do upon witnessing the traumatizing scene of their 2 team members. Mr. Song warns everyone not to move, or the statue will launch another attack. Jinwoo tries to talk to Joohee, who is too traumatized to move by what she just saw. Mr. Song asks Jinwoo how he knows that the statue is about to attack them, but he replies that it was by instinct. While talking, he becomes really shocked when he notices that Mr. Song lost an arm due to the statue's attack. Jinwoo helps him stop bleeding because Joohee was traumatized by the scene and can't handle the pressure. That is the reason she only joins simple raids, despite being a B-rank healer. As Mr. Song also reveals about participating in B-rank, he estimates the statue to be around an S rank compared to his past experiences as a hunter. Elsewhere, Jinwoo's sister, Sung Jinna, is attending school where she is asked by her friend to confirm that her brother is a hunter. She replies that he is only an E rank and always comes back with injuries. She asks her friend about the reason for asking this, but her friend does not state any reason. Back in the dungeon, Mr. Song and Jinwoo conceive of what to do and decide to look for an exit. Another member of their team is annoyed by their current situation, as he has already signed his contract with a big association. Confident in his insane speed, he believes he can get away from there. Utilizing his amazing speed, he takes off running. But he gets turned into nothing in the blink of an eye by the giant statue's light beam, leaving only his 2 feet behind. The statue can eliminate everyone whenever it wants to, but Jinwoo wonders why it has not attacked them. Despite his fear, he remains composed and thinks of the statue's behavior as different from other monsters. Suddenly, he remembers the commandment and asks Mr. Song what the first commandment was. Mr. Song tells Jinwoo that the first rule is to revere the god. Jinwoo forms a theory and decides to test the statue upon being reminded that it is to revere the god, realizing that the god it is referring to is the giant statue. Mr. Song initially thinks Jinwoo has decided to give up his life, but when he sees Jinwoo's eyes, he understands that Jinwoo has not given up on his life. Jinwoo stands up, and the statue prepares to attack, but he bows down immediately and the statue stops the attack. Seeing that his thoughts are correct, he yells at the other survivors to bow their heads to the statue, and explains that revering the god means that as long as they keep their heads low, it won't attack. Upon everyone agreeing and kneeling before the statue, the giant statue's expression soon shifts to a terrifying face, as if it were enjoying the situation. Seeing this in fear, Park stands up and is relieved to see that the statue remains motionless and does not attack anymore. Believing it is over, the rest of the party stands up, thinking that they can go back alive. They become shocked to see the statue begin to move and start walking towards them. Jinwoo tells them that the second commandment is to praise the god. Everyone wonders how they can do this, but then one of the members says that he is conducting research on traditional ethnology and is great at praying. He volunteers himself to pray in front of the incoming statue and starts praying loudly. However, Jinwoo thinks that the guy's prayer doesn't apply to this god. The statue smiles terrifyingly and crushes the man under its feet. Paralyzed in fear, another member of the party is too traumatized, leaving her as another victim for the statue. Mr. Song asks everyone to spread out because being in one place is dangerous for everyone. Everyone starts scattering, and Jinwoo grabs Joohee's hand, starting to run. Park thinks about his wife and son as he runs toward a statue holding a weapon. Kim sees the statue behind Park moving and tries to warn him that the statue behind him is about to attack, but it is too late to react as Park is brutally chopped in half by the statue's sword. Jinwoo observes the situation while learning and soon figures out, ordering the survivors to run to the statues holding instruments instead of weapons, as statues with weapons attack whoever goes near them. Kim sees that Jinwoo is right as he rests and breaks down in tears while sitting in front of the statue, and then the statue starts to play music. Jinwoo and Joohee reach the statue, but it does not play the instrument. Jinwoo realizes that the statue will not activate if 2 people are standing nearby. He leaves Joohee near the statue and starts running for another statue holding instruments. However, Jinwoo's speed is too slow and leads him to be nearly crushed by the giant statue's foot, but he accidentally rolls to a statue that holds a shield. The statue attacks him with its shield, but Jinwoo still survives and crawls to a statue holding an instrument, barely managing to activate it to play music. This causes the giant statue to stop pursuing him and get back to sit on his throne, as well as reverting back to his previous expression. Joohee runs towards Jinwoo and asks if he is okay, but she gets scared by seeing Jinwoo's leg as he lost a leg. Despite this, she tries hard to heal his leg but couldn't heal it. As the rest of the party members who survived reunite with Jinwoo, Kim apologizes to Mr. Song about his arm, but he says that it's his karma because he made a hasty decision and put everyone's life in danger. Jinwoo sees them and thinks that this is not the time for arguing as there is still one commandment left. Just then, the giant statue made an altar at the center of the room. Jinwoo explains that it's an altar, and in mythology, they offer treasure and sacrifices to the gods. Kim grabs his sword and threatens Mr. Song, reminding him that he holds responsibility for the lives of their dead comrades. Mr. Song decides to sacrifice himself and walks towards the altar. Jinwoo thinks that Mr. Song is not the only one at fault because everyone voted before coming here. When Mr. Song reaches the altar, a flame appears. Mr. Song asks Jinwoo if there is anything else he needs to do. Jinwoo asks two of the other survivors to help him walk to the altar to examine it. They hesitate, but Jinwoo assures them that nothing will happen if they go near the altar. When they reach the altar, 3 more flames start to appear in a circle. Jinwoo wonders if someone will rescue them if they wait there, but Mr. Song replies that today is the 7th day since the dungeon was created, and they will be eliminated by the statue before someone comes to rescue them. Jinwoo recalls how a gate becomes fully open after 7 days, and a dungeon break occurs, causing monsters to come to the human world through the gate. To prevent that from happening, hunters need to defeat the dungeon boss before 7 days. So, if Jinwoo and others fail, the giant statue god will run wild in the human world. Meanwhile, in the human world, Jinna is seen visiting her unconscious mother and informing her about her results at school. Back at the dungeon, Jinwoo asks the other two to also join them at the altar, and when they reach the altar, 2 more flames appear in a circle. Surrounding them, blue flames start to appear and the dungeon's door opens up. Suddenly, the small statues start moving towards them. Jinwoo soon realizes something and tells everyone not to close their eyes, as the statues don't move if they are being watched. Everyone keeps their eyes on the statues, and they stop moving. Suddenly, a woman becomes terrified and runs towards the door. As soon as she crosses the circle, the orange flame goes out, but she manages to run outside the room. Jinwoo realizes that the door is a trap, as the last commandment is to believe in God. It is a false hope to overcome, as it is a test to prove their faith. Despite Jinwoo's instruction for them not to leave, the person who is holding Jinwoo tosses him down and leaves in fear. After he leaves, the door starts closing a little. Afterwards, Kim says that he has a family waiting for him, and while crying, he also leaves through the door. Now only Joohee, Mr. Song, and Jinwoo are left. Mr. Song asks Jinwoo and Joohee to leave too, but Joohee says that her legs are not moving and learns that it is because she used too much of her magic. Jinwoo hands the essence stone that he got earlier to Joohee and tells her to buy food, as he promised her earlier that he will take her out for dinner. Joohee asks him in tears how he can still be joking, but Mr. Song apologizes and knocks her out as they are out of time. Mr. Song takes Joohee with him and leaves from there. Jinwoo grabs the sword that Kim left behind and thinks about his unfortunate desire to become stronger like others. One of the statues launches his weapon at Jinwoo but misses. Jinwoo is soon attacked by the other statues as his screams echo in the dungeon. Jinwoo leans against the altar and attempts to scream but is stabbed by a statue's spear. He becomes angry and thinks about others as they say they couldn't take any more. But Jinwoo says that he also felt the same way. All they are doing is justifying their own selfishness, as it's always the most selfish people who benefit the most. Jinwoo gets more furious as he has a family too, and he also wants to make it home alive. He is lifted in the air and thrown onto the altar. Jinwoo begins to wonder if it's really good that he's the only one who has to die. As his tattered body lies on the altar, he thinks about how he could have thought that way and called himself a stupid hypocrite. In the end, he thinks that he doesn't want to die. As the statue raises its sword and starts to attack him, Jinwoo wishes if he could have one more chance. A last blue flame goes out, but a mysterious notification appears in Jinwoo's mind, revealing that a secret quest, Courage of the Weak, has been completed. He has acquired the qualifications to be a player and is asked to accept it. His heart will stop in milliseconds if he chooses not to accept, and the button saying yes is pressed. Jinwoo suddenly awakens from a deep sleep after a weird dream he had. He finds himself in the hospital with his arms and legs intact, which is quite terrifying to him. Woo Jinchul, the manager of the Hunters Association surveillance team, came in with his subordinate Kang Taishik to check on him. They explained to him that he had been unconscious for 3 days, yet he was still worried about Joohee and Mr. Song. Jinchul explains that Mr. Song lost an arm, and he might have to retire as a hunter, while Joohee is undergoing psychiatric treatment because she is traumatized. Jinchul is not sure if Joohee will continue as a hunter based on her current condition. Furthermore, there are only 6 survivors in the double dungeon the hunters went to. They never expected such a tragic outcome. The White Tiger team was contacted by the survivors, but Jinchul explained to Jinwoo that he was the only one they met on the ground when they got to the scene. They could not find any temple or huge monsters as the survivors described. Jinchul asks Jinwoo if he has experienced a second awakening. As a hunter who has experienced a later awakening, it's still possible for that same hunter to experience another, and by doing so, they will rise above their previous rank. Kang brings out a level detector to know if Jinwoo has undergone a second awakening, but unfortunately, he is still measured at around E rank. Jinchul continuously thinks about how Jinwoo survived a double dungeon without any marks of injuries. As for Jinwoo, he is worried to know the reason they did not ask him about the screen before him. Jinwoo tries to touch it, but it's not a touch panel, it's a screen controlled by his mindset. Afterward, he was interrupted by Jinna, his little sister who had been worried about him for 3 days during his unconsciousness. She threatens Jinwoo, saying that the next time he secures any injuries while hunting, she will have to quit school and get a job, so Jinwoo will quit his hunting life. He was not concerned about all the talks. He asked Jinna if she saw the screen before him, but no, Jinna could not witness it. She checked on him and then left. Jinwoo, on his own, figured out that the system is for the development of players, and they must comply. Also, the system gives daily rewards, but he did not get a clue of what it meant. The system's daily quest for him is to do strength training, which involves some physical fitness that he can't complete in a hospital. Jinchul informed Chairman Go about the current state of Jinwoo. With all the analyses the Hunter Association made, they could not come to an answer concerning the dungeon, though they were thankful that the incident did not result in a dungeon break. Then the chairman marked it as a special case. Elsewhere, Guildmaster Choi summons Cha-hee in to be part of a B-rank raid as an instructor. The raid is primarily for recruiting and training purposes. Cha-hee doubts her ability to mentor, but Guildmaster Choi encourages her. He instructs her to fight so that the recruits can learn from her. Guildmaster Choi explains that their guild is among the 5th largest guilds in the world, but on the international level, they are unremarkable. In the middle of the night, another dungeon gate appears in Hapjeong, a D-rank gate. At that time, the system appears before Jinwoo while he is sleeping. He fails to carry out the quest, and then a huge earthquake starts. He finds himself in a desert before a huge monster. The nurse searches for him in his ward but does not find him. They start searching everywhere to locate him while he is running from a huge monster in the desert. He has just 2 hours to survive the attack. After the set time reaches, he appears back in his room, tired and covered in sweat. The nurse comes back and finds him in his room, covered in sweat and tired. The next day, Jinwoo discharges himself from the hospital. Meanwhile, Joohee is contacted regarding the issue of the D-rank dungeon gate that appeared in Hapjeong, but she has to decline. The contact reveals to her that Jinwoo has woken up, so she goes to the hospital to visit him. On getting there, Jinwoo is seen running and training his body. The nurse says he has been at it since the day he regained consciousness. What they can conclude is that hunters need to regain strength more than normal human beings. The reward for Jinwoo for completing the daily quest by the system is that he gets full recovery. The next quest for him is to upgrade his abilities, and by doing this, he gains lots of strength and power. After all, he receives his final daily quest reward, which is the random loot box. He opens it and finds a key. The news reports about new dungeon gates that have appeared recently in other locations. The news is aimed at preparing the minds of the citizens to expect traffic delays due to the raids the hunters will conduct. Jinwoo recalls back to 4 years ago when he awakened as a hunter. His mom collapsed and refused to respond to anyone. The doctor diagnosed it as eternal sleep disease, also known as final rest. This disease came into existence with the appearance of the gates and affects roughly 10,000 people. Furthermore, no treatment has been discovered to cure it, but what medicine can provide is life support. To pay for his mom's hospital bills and take care of his sister, he took a job, and during his working hours, he awakened. Back to the present, Jinwoo trains hard, developing muscles and a body suitable for a hunter. While training, he thinks several times about his past and what he has been through as a D-rank hunter. He appeared at Hapjeong Station to test the confidence and strength that he had acquired in the past few days. He brought out the key from the box, and then something mysterious happened. A lock appeared out of nowhere. The gate opened, and he went in. After that, the system notified him that he had earned the instant dungeon. A moment later, a lady appeared from nowhere in the dungeon. She exited the dungeon without any obstacle, even when the dungeon was sealed. By that, Jinwoo understands that he is entirely in another realm of the world. Jinwoo thought that escaping the battle dungeon was intense, but to his surprise, the system notified him that he couldn't exit the dungeon unless he defeated the boss or made use of a teleportation stone. He thought within himself how it was possible for him to defeat a boss without an ally, but above all, he needed to survive, so he had no choice. Suddenly, Jinwoo begins to lose his confidence. His first opponents are goblins, attacking him relentlessly, and all he can do is defend himself. The only weapon he has with him is his knife with no super defensive powers, but that knife has taken him a long way. He takes down one of the goblins, which gives him confidence to stand against the other 2 goblins. After the fight, he wonders how strong he has become, but a wolf appears behind him. He tries defending himself with the knife, but the wolf shatters it into pieces. Now, he is left alone with nothing as a weapon. Jinwoo can sense how strong the wolf is compared to the goblins. The wolf approaches him to launch an attack, but he cannot move. He receives a cut from the wolf, and then he realizes that he has no healer with him. If he gets injured, then it's over for him, so he needs to put himself together for the fight. The wolf charges at him, but he dodges it with incredible speed. He feels amazed as his body feels much lighter. The wolf tries to attack him again, but Jinwoo throws a strong punch that sends it flying. Jinwoo is shocked as he sees the impact of his increased strength. He knows that the wolf is still more powerful than him, but he doesn't let that stop him from defending himself. His blows are ineffective, so he has to dodge its claws, and Jinwoo doesn't know what to do next. Jinwoo realizes that he can't handle this alone, so he runs away from there because he has no allies or any support. Jinwoo's bag only contains water and snacks, so he wishes he had a magical weapon to use against the wolf. Jinwoo then remembers his secret inventory and opens it to grab a magic sword. Just as the wolf attacks him again, Jinwoo uses the sword to cut it in half. Jinwoo has no idea how the sword got into his inventory, but he remembers Kim mentioning that he spent 3 million on it. It's the kind of weapon he could never buy, but he decides to make use of it. Jinwoo's wounds heal from the previous fight, and he realizes his body doesn't hurt anymore. However, 2 more wolf monsters show up. Jinwoo has a weapon now, so he is confident, but he notices that his sword is stuck in the ground. He desperately tries to pull it out as the monsters get closer to attack him, and he barely manages to do it at the last moment. Jinwoo swings his sword at one of them, but the other one bites his sword with its steel fangs. Jinwoo kicks the monster and defeats it with a slash. Another one prepares to attack, but Jinwoo says that these things are nothing compared to the huge statue. Jinwoo stands up to attack, but the other wolf runs away in fear. He gets a notification that he has reached level 2, something that never happened before when he was doing his daily quests. He figures out that it's because this was a real fight, and notices that all his stats increase by 1 when he levels up. He gets a total of 5 points from real combat, as daily quests only give him 3 points. Jinwoo wonders how much his strength will increase with each point added to his stats. He is sure that strength is the most vital stat among all of them. Jinwoo guesses that the higher his basic abilities become, the more points he will earn. Jinwoo is more excited than ever as he discovers that he finally has a way to get stronger. He goes to inspect the monsters for magic stones, but he is amazed to see that he gets an item called Lichen Fang. Jinwoo wonders if this dungeon and the magic beasts inside are different from those inside real-world gates. He then sees a shop screen in his system, but his level is too low to purchase anything. He sells the fang and gets 20 gold coins. Jinwoo isn't sure how much that's actually in cash, but he is sure that it can't be worth much because he's in an E-rank dungeon. Jinwoo then picks up his sword and wonders what he should do next. He realizes that he is running low on food and doubts if he can handle a boss fight at his current level. He wonders if he should focus on leveling up first. Suddenly, Jinwoo is shocked by an entire pack of wolves in front of him. He isn't scared anymore and rushes towards the wolves this time, starting to slice them down one by one. His past flashes before his eyes, and now he wants to fight them all. Jinwoo's only goal is to become stronger, and he will obey all the system's absurd rules if that's what it takes. Jinwoo cuts down all the wolves, and notifications start to pop up everywhere. When he defeats them all, a final notification announces that Jinwoo has earned the title Wolf Assassin. Jinwoo is totally worn out, and he notices that his sword is about to break. He realizes that his weapons are not permanent, and they will lose their durability, but he's relieved the battle is over. At that moment, a notification pops up explaining the benefits of being a wolf assassin. He gets a 40% increase in all attributes when fighting animal-type monsters. When he checks his inventory, he sees that he has collected a lot of fangs and a cloak. But the most shocking thing is a teleportation stone. Jinwoo wonders if he should use it to escape, but he is hesitant to give up this opportunity to become stronger. He thinks if he leaves the dungeon, it may disappear like a time-limited event in a game. Facing this difficult choice, Jinwoo decides to just keep going deeper into the dungeon. Meanwhile, Joohee gets a call from the Hunters Association and is informed that there was a dungeon break at a nearby gate. They are in need of healers, so they ask for her assistance. In the dungeon, as Jinwoo fights with monsters, he notices that the higher his level gets, the easier it is to defeat monsters. He also notices that the color of the text that shows their status changed. White means that they are much weaker than him, orange means that they are on the same level as him, and red means that they are much stronger than him. The wolf status that were red before are now white, so this shows that Jinwoo has become stronger. He is sure that there is one monster down the staircase that he is not ready to face yet. Jinwoo's perception skill is better now, so he can sense that something horrifying is down there. He looks at his stats and notices that his level hasn't increased for a while now. His sword is almost on the verge of breaking. His sole purpose is to become stronger, so he decides to go down the stairs. When he gets to the bottom, a monster strikes him with so much force that he barely has time to dodge. Now Jinwoo's sword breaks, and the dungeon boss, a giant snake, emerges from the water. Jinwoo is shocked. He looks at the color of its names and realizes they are on the same level. He looks at the scales of the snake and realizes there is no chance his sword could pierce through them. Jinwoo is certain that fighting barehanded would be a fatal mistake for him, so he uses his sword to deflect the snake's attack. The giant snake attacks really fast and fiercely, so Jinwoo will have to find a way to weaken it first. The snake's scale is way too thick, so all Jinwoo can do is run from there. The snake uses its tail and smacks him so hard that it sends him flying into the water. The snake follows him closely underwater, but he manages to reach the surface. It strikes him again and launches him into the air. He lands hard on the ground and barely has time to recover. Jinwoo notices a train is flying towards him, so he starts running to avoid a fatal blow. Jinwoo then thinks that he had grown a bit stronger, but it is clearly not enough. The train almost smashes him, and Jinwoo starts to question himself. He grabs hold of his broken sword, wondering how much stronger he must become to escape from his past humiliation. He recalls the moment when Mr. Song tells him that he was known as the weakest hunter in the world. He told him to work hard and show them they are wrong. Back in the dungeon, the snake attacks him with its incredible power, making him fly into a different area. Jinwoo knows that he earned that nickname because he was weak and helpless. Jinwoo thinks about his past and reflects on how those who have immense strength have an advantage in every situation. As for the weak, they have no choice but to tremble in fear. People are looked down upon because they are weak, even if they're smart, knowledgeable, and kind. Jinwoo decides that kindness won't help him, so he has to become strong. He prepares to attack the snake. The snake shakes him off, but Jinwoo vows to get stronger and his body starts to glow. The snake attacks him again, but Jinwoo blocks it with his sword. Jinwoo feels fearless compared to how he experienced fear against the god. Jinwoo succeeds in using his sword to climb the snake. He jumps into the air to attack the snake, but surprisingly his sword flies away with one strike, so he grabs the snake with his bare hands. Jinwoo knows that he has been training his strength ever since he got this leveling system. He decides to use that now and starts to smash the snake's scales. The snake tries to shake off Jinwoo, but it's too late as Jinwoo is confident that he can defeat the snake. Jinwoo continues pressing down on the snake's neck with all his immense power, and he eventually defeats it. A notification pops up telling Jinwoo that he has leveled up several times, and he starts smiling. He feels that he has become much stronger. Suddenly, a notification pops up and says that he just defeated the king of the swamp, and he gets a dagger for his reward. It has twice the attack power of Kim's sword, and it has paralysis and drain effects. He also gets a toxic potion that will make his skin tougher, but it will also harm his muscles permanently. He gets a notification that the boss has been defeated, so the dungeon will change back to its original state. Suddenly, the dungeon changes back to the train station, and Jinwoo realizes that he just cleared the dungeon by himself. Jinwoo walks away with his shattered sword, but he can't see anyone in that place. A soldier approaches him, asking why he's around the station, and if he didn't hear the announcement. But he sees Jinwoo's sword and realizes he is a hunter. The soldier says sorry and tells him to go to the battle site. Jinwoo follows the man and wonders if a dungeon break happened and the magic beasts come out from a gate. The soldier tells him that most of the monsters have been defeated, but there is still one huge and powerful monster left. Jinwoo realizes that his perception skill has increased significantly, and he can locate the boss. We see the giant golem causing chaos in the city, and people are scared that the situation will get even worse. Hunters attempt to fight against the golem to defeat it, but their attacks aren't strong enough to pass through its high defense. Jinwoo arrives there and realizes that this group of hunters has poorly coordinated teamwork. Jinwoo uses more of his perception skill to discover that they are all low rank, as 80 ranks hunters and 1 D rank hunter. One of those D ranks is a tank, which is why they have failed to break the golem's defense, and this fight has dragged on for too long. He notices the healers as well, and is shocked to see that Joohee is one of them. Joohee casts a spell, and a hunter tells her to keep her concentration. Joohee is still traumatized by the flashbacks of the giant statue, so she loses concentration. Jinwoo sees that she is still traumatized, but he isn't scared anymore. This golem is a D rank boss, and it's weaker than the one he just faced. The hunters freak out as they are rapidly losing the battle, and they realize that they have no chance without a higher ranked hunter. Jinwoo pulls up his sleeves and throws his broken sword with so much force that the golem's shield shatters. The hunters use that opportunity to defeat the golem, but the tank is very doubtful as their attacks weren't effective previously. He notices Jinwoo's sword and thinks how the golem's shield was shattered by a broken sword, when a dozen of hunters couldn't even scratch it. He asks the soldier who threw the sword, and the soldier tells him that it was the hunter he brought with him. But Jinwoo has gone from there, and the tank is in shock as he wonders if the mysterious person is a high-rank hunter. Jinwoo has escaped the scene to hide his power, and thinks that he didn't expect a single strike would break the golem's defense. He thinks that the golem must have been running out of vitality before his attack. He walks away from there, but Joohee notices him and wonders if he is Jinwoo.
A few days later, the nurses in Jinwoo's hospital are all amazed by his handsome face and his fit body. Jinwoo is doing his daily exercise tasks in his hospital room. The nurses wonder how he got so ripped in such a short time. They can't take their eyes off him. One of the nurses knocks and walks into Jinwoo's room, but she is shocked when she sees him without his shirt on. He apologizes for being shirtless, and she apologizes for barging in. He reaches for his shirt, but the nurse can't stop staring at his muscles. She wonders to herself if he always had such a good physique, but Jinwoo asks her what she came to tell him. She comes to her senses and tells him it's time for him to leave the hospital. She asks him if he feels any pain, and he tells her he's completely healed. She instructs him to go to the counter and fill out the discharge forms when he's ready, and Jinwoo thanks her for looking after him. As he is about to leave, the nurse embarrassingly asks for his number. Meanwhile, on a morning news show, the newscaster welcomes Yoonho. He is one of the 7 S-rank hunters with outstanding achievements. She asks him how he spends his time when he's not on missions, and he tells her he trains every day because training is essential. He explains that his skills would get rusty if he didn't practice real combat. She asks him if he ever gets exhausted, and he tells her that he's used to it since he used to be a firefighter. He mentions that back then, he learned that a small mistake could put his teammates in danger. Jinna is watching the news when she suddenly remembers she's running late for school. She hurries out of the room and shouts to Jinwoo. Jinwoo reminds her to stay safe on her way to school. Jinna compliments him on his physique, and he tells her it's nothing much. She notices the gap between their heights and wonders if his height growth is also a result of his training. Jinwoo reminds his sister to take an umbrella to school, but she says it's a sunny day and she doesn't need it. After she departs, Jinwoo goes into the living room and checks his daily tasks. He has done everything except running, and he plans to do that later. He thinks that if he continues at this pace, he could become a huge bodybuilder. He looks at his stats and notices that he has some spare points left. He realizes he needs enough strength to inflict damage, but it would be useless if he can't reach his target. He acknowledges the significance of the vitality and perception stats as well. He chooses to put all his points in strength, agility, and perception. Just then, he receives a call from his landlord, who tells him that he hasn't paid his last month's rent. Jinwoo tells him he'll send the money soon, and the landlord tells him to take care of himself. Jinwoo still isn't certain if he experienced a second awakening, but he can now slay goblins easily. He hopes to earn enough to make a living. He then browses through available dungeons he can enter, but realizes he needs a high-level dungeon to make good money. However, he won't be eligible because he is an E-rank hunter. He thinks about a re-evaluation, and if his rank is higher, he can enter the high-level gate. The more attention he gets, the more money he'll earn. But he knows people with a second awakening are rare, and there has also been no hunter who could grow stronger as their level increases. He decides to hide his powers until he can defend himself and figures out about his abilities. Just then, he receives a message on his phone, and he's shocked that he got a job request. He completes his daily tasks as he heads to the location. He is about to claim his reward, but he's called by a man named Dong-suk. One of his teammates recognizes Jinwoo and says he's known for being the weakest hunter of all mankind. But Dong-suk scolds him, apologizes for their rudeness, and invites Jinwoo to join their team to raid a dungeon. Dong-suk explains that they're going into a C-rank dungeon, but they need a minimum of 8 people to enter. He says Jinwoo will not fight and won't get any loot, but they'll give him a commission fee of 2 million in cash. Jinwoo analyzes them and notices there are 4 C-rank hunters and 2 D-rank hunters or lower. Jinwoo wonders what his role is, and Dong-suk says he will be their porter and carry their luggage. Jinwoo asks him if he has not brought a healer, as he has to carry a first aid kit. But Dong-suk says it's hard for a small team like his to find a healer, but they have always done fine without one. Jinwoo feels uneasy as there are no healers, only tankers and fighters, but Dong-suk gives him the contract to sign. He looks over it and sees that the team won't be responsible for any damage he suffers in the dungeon. He signs the contract, and suddenly a 20-year-old D-rank hunter named Jinho comes there and introduces himself. Jinwoo admires his equipment and guesses Jinho is from a wealthy family. Jinho offers to help Jinwoo with the bags as they are heavy, but he says he's fine with it. They reach the gate, but because of how massive it is, they doubt it's really a C-rank gate. Dong-suk assures them the dungeon was rated as a C rank by experts. Jinho asks if it's safe to enter the huge gate, and Jinwoo explains that the size of the gate isn't important. The flux of magic power emanating from inside the dungeon is most important. The association measures that flux and assigns the gate a rank. Normally, gates that are B rank and higher are taken care of by large guilds, and those below C rank are not very risky. Jinho is impressed by how much Jinwoo knows, and Jinwoo tells him he has been a hunter for a while, but he thinks that it's his first time entering a C-rank dungeon, and Dong-suk tells his team members to follow him. They enter the gate, but the dungeon is dark, so Dong-suk tells one of his members to create a light. He's shocked as there are not a single magic beast in there, and there are no lights as well. Jinwoo recalls the double dungeon he visited that was also completely dark. Jinwoo informs Jinho about luminescent stones, as they are shining rocks common in cave-like dungeons. He tells him they are located on the ground or ceiling of caves and illuminate light in the cave. They go deeper into the cave, and Jinho is still surprised as there are still no magical beasts. Jinwoo tells him to be quiet and listen carefully and realizes there are magic beasts there, but they stay hidden. Dong-suk tells everyone to get ready for a fight. Jinwoo notices that the monsters are swarming towards any source of light, so he explains to everyone that they are dealing with insect-type magic beasts. Everyone panics at the thought of fighting insects. Jinwoo listens to the insects' movements and tells everyone the monsters are coming from the hole above them, so everyone starts attacking the monsters. Dong-suk uses his taunting skill and lures the monsters towards himself, and the others start attacking them from behind. Jinho wants to join the fight, but they tell him to stay back. One of the members unleashes his most powerful attack and wipes out a lot of the monsters. Jinwoo admires their teamwork as they have been working together for a long time. As for Jinho, his equipment compensates for his lack of strength, but just standing there, he feels frustrated. They eliminate all the monsters, and everyone takes their share of loot except for Jinwoo, as per the contract. Dong-suk asks Jinwoo how he knew where the insects would come from, and Jinwoo explains that he just used his instincts. They see the beasts were attacked by something that wasn't using a sword or magic. They realize that there could be a monster that is stronger than the ant monsters in this dungeon. Jinwoo warns Jinho to be careful because his sword and shield are so expensive. Meanwhile, in the White Tiger Guild, some hunters are training at the gym, and they suddenly hear a loud noise. One hunter explains that it's normal when their guild master is training. They admire his power as he pierced through a huge boulder in one strike, but Yunho thinks it's not enough for a proper warm-up. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo shares some information about dungeons with Jinho, and he wonders how Jinwoo is carrying the luggage in such a big dungeon. Jinwoo says he doesn't mind earning more without fighting. However, he's doubtful because the offer is too generous. He's still nervous that the group lacks a healer, and they had to deal with monsters. They haven't encountered a single uninjured magic beast during their walk, and they become more wary about that. They assume the dungeon boss is nearby. Dong-suk tells his team members to brighten up the cave, and they advance forward, slicing through spider webs, believing the boss room is close. They discover at least 1 billion worth of mana crystals that could make them rich. Dong-suk thinks that he'll no longer be the guy who always listens to his younger brother, and he'll use these mana crystals to build his team. Everyone is talking about getting over 100 million per person. Jinho checks Jinwoo's contract, and he suggests to Dong-suk that Jinwoo should get some crystals since they're not part of the loot. He assures Jinho that Jinwoo will receive his portion after they defeat the boss. They also have to move the mana crystals before defeating the boss because the dungeon gate will close. The boss monster is sleeping, so it'll be a great opportunity to mine the mana crystals. Dong-suk asks his team member for his equipment, but he says he forgot them in their car. Dong-suk tells Jinho and Jinwoo to wait there while they go back to get the equipment to mine the mana crystals. Jinho feels uneasy about staying inside the boss room, but Dong-suk tells him not to worry because the boss is full, and it'll be asleep unless they provoke it. Dong-suk assures them that they are both the first time in a C-rank dungeon and asks them to trust him. He says he has some things to sort out with his team, so he'll come back after some time. Jinwoo wonders about the situation and thinks, according to the rules, at least 8 people are needed to clear a C-rank dungeon. He recalls Dong-suk said before that they've always cleared dungeons with 6 members. Dong-suk tells one of his team members to block the entrance to the boss room. The entrance gets blocked, and Jinho realizes they were betrayed. Jinwoo remembers when Mr. Song warned him dungeons are pretty dangerous and accidents happen frequently. There are people who do such things and escape with it easily because there are no cameras inside the dungeons. Jinho gets furious at those guys who sacrifice them just for a few mana crystals, and he regrets talking too much about the contract. The dungeon boss wakes up and comes towards them. Jinwoo thinks the C-ranked boss is on a different level than himself, but then he remembers the double dungeon and starts smiling. He tells Jinho to stand back, and he will fight the boss monster. He takes out his dagger from his inventory and walks ahead, telling Jinho he'll defeat the boss. When Dong-suk and his team leave the dungeon, the mage wonders why they didn't eliminate both lads. But Dong-suk explains that it'll wake up the spider monster. His team is concerned about getting the mana crystals of the dungeon after it has eaten both of them. Dong-suk plans on returning to the dungeon without waking up the spider. He plans on going through the side tunnels near the ceiling. Meanwhile, Jinho advises Jinwoo on escaping. He knows that as a hunter, he needs to be at least B rank to take down a C rank boss. With fear all around him, he advises Jinwoo that they find a way to escape instead of fighting a C rank boss. Jinwoo accepts Jinho's advice, even if he may have reawakened and leveled up. He knows he is still weak. He thinks about the blue venom-fanged Kasaka he ran into in the instance dungeon, a D rank monster, and the golem boss, which is also a D rank monster. He understands that the challenge before him is guaranteed to be a lot stronger than either of the ones he has faced in the past. Yet he never gets intimidated to give up, since he is at level 18 and understands the reason for being a hunter. Chairman Go had just left the meeting. He had another long day. The government, the media, organizations related to energy development, and so on have been the meetings he has been attending lately. Back to the dungeon, Jinwoo continued with his challenge. While fighting, he discovered that the C-rank boss, the spider monster, is extremely hard and strikes with tremendous power. One wrong move and he knew he would be dead. Jinho discovered that the way Jinwoo is moving, there is no way he is a E-rank hunter. He was concerned, thinking Jinwoo faked his ranking to join the Hunters Guild. Based on the analysis of Jinwoo's strength, if his fatigue gets any higher, he will start to slow down, so he needs to kill the monster before that happens. The dagger Jinwoo is holding has special abilities, paralysis and drain, which are the keys to his victory. With understanding, he knew that if he aimed at a weak spot, then he had a chance. While he moved close to attack that same weak spot, the spider spit out acid which Jinwoo couldn't defend against. Due to the toughness of the spider, Jinwoo's fatigue reached 70 points. He was attacked and hit on a rock, but he activated his full recovery. Then from behind, he attacked the monster, aiming at the weak point which he noticed. Thankfully, he succeeded in defeating the spider boss. The system notifies him that he has successfully defeated the master of the dungeon. Then he is happy to receive the daily quest rewards. Jinwoo was surprised when Jinho called him boss and requested to carry the essence stone and the gear. He offered him water and then started to mining the mana crystals. Dong-suk arrived at the same time with his team. He was surprised to see the two young lads alive. Meanwhile, Chairman Go and Jinchul had a few training sessions together. Chairman Go really made a big move to defeat Jinchul. After the training, he encouraged Jinchul to defend himself well. Back in the dungeon, Dong-suk informed Jinho that his fancy gear made him curious and he was impressed. He revealed Jinho's father, who happens to be the head of Yojin Construction, Yu Myung-hen. Dong-suk gave him an order to kill Sung Jinwoo. He told him he was going to be an accomplice if he obeyed the order, and that was the only way he could walk out of the dungeon alive. Jinho, with fear, walked up to the front of Jinwoo. Surprisingly, he defended Jinwoo. Dong-suk's team didn't hesitate. They attacked the boys. But before the enemies approached, the notification screen informed Jinwoo that he had to take out 6 enemies, which happened to be Dong-suk's team. He was confused about the notification. One of Dong-suk's team attacked him with his skill, which made Jinwoo fly and strike a wall. Elsewhere, Heejin was spotted by her friends, and they went for an outing. Her friends asked about her welfare with the White Tiger Guild. She also asked about the Hunters Guild where Gina, her friend, worked. She remembered that Gina had mentioned to her that she was going to start A-rank dungeon training with Joohee. Gina explained how challenging the training was. They were all struggling against an A-rank monster, but Joohee actually came and defeated it so fast, making it look easy. After all that was said, Gina also asked about Chul and Heejin's guild. Gina talked about some unsavory rumors that were going around, rumors like strike teams with suspiciously high fatality rates. Back in the dungeon, Dong-suk tries to convince Jinho that Jinwoo is dead. Jinwoo then remembers that he works in a world where survival of the strong is the reality. It's a world filled with violence, deception, and betrayal. The system keeps advising him to eliminate the enemy. He knows that the system wants him alive and strong. Then he gets up, strong and desiring. He walks up to them, triggering their action with his words, which makes one of them approach him to mock. But Jinwoo just eliminates him with his dagger. After defeating a D-rank hunter, he is troubled in his heart that he just eliminated a human being. Then he realizes that he has to eliminate the enemy if he has to survive. Then he defeated the other team members of Dong-suk. In the end, he fights with Dong-suk and eliminates him as well. After defeating them all, the notification pops up and notifies that the urgent quest is complete. Both Jinwoo and Jinho got out of the dungeon and reported to the official that they only survived the encounter with the spider monster. The official was surprised to see that the survivor is an E-rank and a D-rank hunter. She was also caught by the gear Jinwoo is putting on. It's from Maya Company's Kallian longsword. As for Jinwoo, he got rewarded by the system with a skill, Murderer's Intent, which can put the enemy in a state of panic for 1 minute and cut all their abilities in half. The official got it all wrong, thinking that Jinho is the hero and Jinwoo just hides somewhere. Elsewhere, Jinchul was informed about the raid on the C-rank dungeon where 6 hunters died in action and 2 survived, who are D-rank and E-rank hunters. Jinchul concluded that the 2 survivors probably fled from the dungeon, but he was informed that they defeated the boss before exiting the dungeon. While he also discussed Jinwoo, who has been a survivor from other recent double dungeon incidents. Jinwoo made Jinna happy by getting some fried chicken along with himself, then revealed that he'll cover their mom's hospital bills and expenses. While Jinwoo was discussing with his sister, he took a sip of the alcohol which he brought home and noticed that the system is detoxing it in his body. He took all the other cans to his room to consume them. He noticed that a special ability from the system must be breaking the alcohol down because he is not getting drunk at all. Then the notification system appears with health and longevity, which disables toxic and abnormal conditions and improves regeneration. It happens to be his reward for the double dungeon. It has been happening for some time that Jinwoo never checked it. He remembers back to when he lost his limbs, and they came back. He was asleep when his sister came knocking to inform him about the presence of Jinho. They were both amazed to see each other again. Jinho knew he owed Jinwoo his life. Jinho requested that they put up a strike team with Jinwoo, but he refused. Jinho tried to explain the future behind his request. He explained that he is trying to become a licensed guild master, and in order to do that, he needs at least 20 raids worth of experience. His first raid happens to be the one he has with Jinwoo. He further explained that he has done all the studying he needs to inherit his family's company, so he is confident about the written test of becoming a guild master. But where his problem lies is the practical experience. Jinho, the second son of Yojin Construction, revealed that his father is actually trying to start a guild. Jinwoo was surprised. He realized that the idea is to have hunters in their employ clear dungeons so that the company benefits. Jinho explained further that his father wants an S-rank hunter to be the guild master while his brother, second in command, intends to run the guild like a business. Jinho discovered that his brother is trying to recruit from another guild. He advised that it would be a bad idea because the guild they are just starting will be making an enemy with whatever company they recruited from. Jinho's brother isn't awakened, so he can't become a guild master, while Jinho has awakened and wants to compete against his brother. This is one reason why he wants to gain more experience, is so he could take up his brother's position. To do that, he needs a role model who is much stronger to guide him through the experience. Picking the wrong person will be dangerous for him. Jinho brought out the construction plan of the guild headquarters they are planning, which happens to be worth 30 billion. Jinho offered Jinwoo the same amount as the construction in exchange for 19 C-rank raids. But after all, Jinwoo declined the offer. Elsewhere, the document containing the details of the 2 survivors from the C-rank raid was brought to Dongsu, the brother of Dongsuk. Lauren, his personal assistant, handed over the document of the survivors to him. He asked what would happen if he eliminated someone in another country, and then informed her that he would switch up his schedule. Lauren told him that sudden changes would disrupt the guild business. Dongsu went through the details of the document, then hoped that Jinwoo and Jinho survived until he got time for them. Meanwhile, Jinwoo and his sister went out for exercise. While jogging, he asked his sister what she would do with an imaginary 30 billion. She said that she would use it for her mom's hospital bill, save some for her tuition fee, and keep the rest. Since it's not realistic, she didn't take it seriously. After hearing that, Jinwoo sped up faster and left her behind. Jinwoo kept receiving daily quests over and over again. For the completed daily quests which Jinwoo did, he received some rewards for them. He chose the blessed random loot box as his reward, where he was given a key named the Demon Castle's Key. The acquisition difficulty happens to be S rank. It's a key to enter the dungeon. The key can be used at Disilngetson. The notification system explains further that he can obtain the ingredient for the elixir of life, which cures all illness with powerful magic. He thought of his mom. He thinks of obtaining the elixir of life to heal his mother since it can cure any illness. At the Demon Castle's gate, the thought that rolled in was that even if he can't survive the threat he is going to face in the dungeon, then he is going to use the teleportation stone, which is obtained from the instant dungeon. Getting there, his first enemy was Hell's gatekeeper Cerberus with 3 heads. He knew if he gave up, then it's over. So he had to get stronger, level up more, and take it all back. He attacked the monster with his dash skill, and with the dagger in his hand, he sliced the body of the monster several times, but it did not penetrate. He got injured terribly by the monster, which made him lose 1/3 of his life in an instant. He used the total recovery skill, then continued the fight. After so many attacks, the notification system keeps warning Jinwoo. He is the player, and the system doesn't want him dead. He knew that the reawakening he had is not normal. He thought of outlasting his rage status for 3 minutes, but it will be dangerous. The only choice he had left is to use the teleportation stone, but he lost it while the fight is on. While he was struggling in his heart on how to survive the dungeon, the notification system reminded him of the store. He got 3 exclusive healing potions. After taking them, the monster attacked him once more, but the effect of its skill wore off. Then, Jinwoo had a chance to defeat it. After he defeated Cerberus, he got another item, a formula for the elixir of life. Jinwoo has to go back because he knew that if he entered into the castle, he is definitely going to die. He went again to see his mom, thinking of the item, knowing well that if he got it, then he could be able to cure his mom's eternal sleep disease. The elixir of life has 3 ingredients, which Jinwoo doesn't have any of them, but it's clear where they are. Entering the castle without getting strong will be a suicidal intent, so he needs to level up more. To do that, he went ahead to accept Jinho's offer to join him on the 19C rank raids, which he mentioned. Jinwoo placed a condition that they will be the only ones in the raid. Jinho knew that C rank raids require a minimum of 18 members to enter, so he wonders how that will be possible. Jinwoo revealed that they will have to hire people to meet the quota, just as Dongseok did. Jinwoo understands that if it's just the 2 of them, then they can clear the 19 raids with no casualties. He enlightened Jinho that it will be a perfect thing to impress his dad with a strike team capable of handling 19 operations with 0 injuries. Jinwoo accepted the condition and promised to arrange the people and the gates. As for Jinho's brother, the manager of the personnel department at Yojin Construction, went to approach the S-rank hunter, Cha Hee-in. Elsewhere, Yu Myung-hen informed Jinho on how the dungeons have brought changes to the infrastructure of their country. It's obvious that the system of their country can no longer operate without the materials from the dungeons, and the hunters are the only ones capable of retrieving vital resources from the dungeons. He explained further that the hunters are being managed by an association which stands as a public institution. They manage the hunters, oversee the discovered gates, and so on, but the association is nothing more than a function of the state. He knew that the vast majority of those vital resources from dungeons are collected by the guilds, which made them extremely wealthy. Some famous guilds in the country are the Hunters Guild, the White Tiger Guild, the Reaper Guild, the Fame Guild, and the Night Guild. They all have a functional monopoly on dungeon-related profit. Meanwhile, Jinwoo continued with his daily quest. He noticed that anything extra he does isn't calculated. He realized that the random loot box that was offered in this secret quest is out of his reach. He hoped for an item as valuable as the key to the demon's castle. After thinking it over, he thought that there would still be a chance that the regular random loot box could contain a key to something like the instance dungeon that he had before. He acquired it, but not as he thought. His stats became so high, but yet 3 points are not enough to make a real change. He has to level up more, then he has to wait for Jinho on the C rank raids. When he thinks of the penalty zone, fighting the centipede may make him level up. As he was thinking, he got a message from the Hunters Association requesting to participate in a D rank raid. The Hunters Association is forming a strike team, which means Jinwoo won't be able to fight on his own. He thought of declining, but it may serve as an opportunity for him. The other hunters for the raids were contacted. They happened to be hunters from the Double Dungeon raid. Elsewhere, the Hunters Association Guild Master summoned President Beek to inform him about Yojin Construction planning to have their own guild. He is not surprised. He has been hearing rumors about headhunting at his own particular guild. Hunter Cha Hee-in went to see the guild master to inform him about a scout from Yojin Construction. After the discussion, she was concerned about the presence of President Beek. She requested to know what was going on from the guild master. Even President Beek himself went over to think about their discussion. The guild master informed him about Jeju Island. Since the failed raid, the island has been sealed off, and the public received a single annual update about any changes, which means that people are trying to forget about the island and the terror within it. But as for the guild master, he revealed that he can never forget about the island and what happened there. He explained that he intends to clear the island in the nearest future. In order to get that done, he needs other guild masters to be on the same page, to gain more strength, gather allies, and sweep public opinions. More reason why the guild master trained new hunters. He also made President Beak remember his friends. Meanwhile, Jinwoo is heading out again, and his sister is concerned due to how busy he has been lately. But as for Jinwoo, he is happy that in any case, he is able to make a steady living for his family. Elsewhere, Song recollects that he didn't awaken to physical power, which means his sword is useless against magical beasts. The martial arts he spent decades on are useless inside the dungeon. However, as a swordsman, he gains magic-focused powers significantly. He met with Jinwoo. They were both amazed to see each other again. They exchange pleasantries. Song testified that Jinwoo has changed so much in just a few months. After the pleasantries, they both move to the gate point where they meet with other hunters. To Song, the summon happens to be a reunion. Jinwoo meets with Joohee, Kim, and Kang. Song remembered then that they sacrificed Jinwoo in order to escape that day. He also can't blame Kim for being too ashamed to face him after what he did. But putting that aside, the utmost part is that 5 survivors from that tragedy have been reunited. Joohee is happy to see Jinwoo. He approached him and spoke well of him. The car arrived with 3 prisoners and the supervisor. They briefed the regular hunters about what's going on. The prisoners they brought are substitutes for hunters, and they will be joining the raid. They happen to be hunter convicts. The reason for their appearance is to reduce their sentences. A B-rank hunter, Kang Taishik, is there on purpose in order to deal with the C-ranked criminals with ease if anything goes wrong. Jinwoo advised Joohee to sit out the raid, but she declined since Jinwoo is also going in. Kang Taishik approached Song and Jinwoo and asked who will lead the team. Jinwoo agrees the team to be led by Song. He appreciated the chance because he knew 7 people died because of him in the double dungeon, and the rest survived because of Jinwoo. Now, everyone prepares and enters the dungeon. Inside the dungeon, the hunters and prisoners were eliminating the goblins like pests on a farm. The goblins were too weak for the group, and the 3 criminals accompanying Kang Taishik were enjoying it like little kids on a field trip. Jinwoo was also able to end the mid-get goblins easily, and upon seeing him, Joohee commented that he might not need her help this time. Mr. Song noticed that the aura around Jinwoo had changed, and his presence felt stronger and more confident than before. As the group moves deeper into the dungeons, they come across a crossway leading to 3 different tunnels. Kang suggests that they should divide into 3 smaller units and enter each tunnel to increase the chances of finding the boss goblin. I'm disappointed that they didn't play rock, paper, scissors to select the tunnels. The dungeon doesn't seem very dangerous, as the goblins they have met so far were quite weak. Mr. Song agrees to his suggestion and decides to follow his lead. Kang takes the 3 criminals with him in his unit. Jinwoo and Joohee accompany Mr. Song, and Kim forms the 3rd unit with his friend. After leveling up so far, Jinwoo's perception ability has greatly increased, and by looking at the tunnels, he can figure out that the boss is inside the tunnel on the left. Nice, but I bet his perception is still not high enough to dodge flying sandals from Asian mothers. He wants to increase his points as a hunter, and for that, he must kill the boss. So, Jinwoo takes the lead and asks Mr. Song and Joohee to enter the tunnel on the left with him. Subsequently, Kang and the criminals take the tunnel on the right, and Kim and his friend enter the tunnel in the middle. As the 3 units enter the tunnels, they encounter similar weak goblins and defeat them without any difficulty. Kim's friend expresses hope that this mission will be easy, to which Kim responds by indicating that it probably is an easy mission since the organization has sent the weakest hunter with them, referring to Jinwoo. Despite Kim's confidence, his friend remains skeptical, recalling their previous opinions when they were assigned the double dungeon mission alongside Jinwoo in the past. Reflecting on that incident, Kim admits that he plans to apologize to Jinwoo for leaving him alone on that mission and escaping. His friend wonders if Jinwoo will forgive him for abandoning his friend in danger, but Kim is determined to seek forgiveness, feeling that he will never be at peace without owning up to his mistake. That's some strong Vinland Saga stuff right there. Meanwhile, inside the tunnel on the right, the criminals are having fun defeating the goblins. After clearing another wave of mid-get goblins, Kang poses a sinister question to the criminals. He asks them if they enjoy eliminating humans as much as they are enjoying defeating those goblins. The criminals reply that humans are even easier to eliminate, and they feel the same about eliminating humans too. In a flashback, we witness a man meeting Kang in an office. The man shares the tragic story of his daughter and how her life was ruined by some criminals. She ended up taking her own life, and his wife is also in the hospital, having grown mentally unstable after the incident. The criminals involved in that Nan's daughter's case were the same 3 individuals who were supposed to accompany Kang on the current raid mission. The man asks Kang to finish them off inside the dungeons, knowing that the surveillance team won't be able to know what happened during the mission. The criminals will possess their hunter licenses during the mission, and if they succeed, their sentences will be reduced. He offers Kang 3 billion won for the job, unable to bear watching those criminals get off so easily after ruining his family. Back in the present, Kang recounts the story to the criminals and reveals his plan to cover up their assassination. He intends to inform the surveillance team that the criminals were killed by powerful magical beasts inside the dungeons, confident that no one will doubt him, given his status as a B-ranked hunter from the Elite Hunters Association. With this, Kang launches an attack on the criminals, initiating a brutal torture session. Just as he is about to deliver the final blow to the last criminal, Kim and his friend unexpectedly enter the tunnel. They witness the gruesome scene of Kang mercilessly eliminating the last criminal. Kang realizes that the 2 tunnels are connected, confirming that the boss must be inside the tunnel on the left. Kim and his friend are horrified by what they have witnessed and demand an explanation from Kang. However, Kang simply begins walking towards them, intent on eliminating any witnesses to his actions. On the other hand, Jinwoo recalls that Kang is the same guy who accompanied Jinchul when he came to meet Jinwoo at the hospital. He hopes that Kang won't remember him from that day. Suddenly, Jinwoo and his unit hear screams coming from the other tunnel, and the 3 of them rush towards the sound. When they enter Kang's tunnel, they see bodies lying everywhere in pools of human tomato juice, and then they spot Kim sitting beside the wall in a miserable condition with several wounds. Jinwoo asks Joohee to heal him, but Kim suggests that it's useless trying to save him as it's already too late. Mr. Song inspects the wounds and says that the injuries on his body were not inflicted by magical beasts, but by a sharp weapon like a knife or sword. Jinwoo can't help but shout at Kim to stay alive, as he won't have anyone to hate if he dies. He must stay alive for his family and continue to take care of them. But the wounds were too lethal, and in his final moments, Kim apologizes to Jinwoo for the double dungeon incident and takes his last breath. Suddenly, Kang leaps at Joohee with a knife, but Jinwoo reacts with lightning speed to stop Kang's attack. Impressed by Jinwoo's ability, Kang praises him. Mr. Song asks Kang why he killed fellow hunters and criminals despite being from the Hunters Association. Kang gives a sinister laugh and shares that now he has a new story for the surveillance team, as he'll have to eliminate more people. He informs the group that he will tell the surveillance team that the criminals were attempting to escape from the mission and eliminated all other hunters in their way, but Kang stopped them and finished them off as they were too weak for him. It seems our guy is a part-time fiction writer. Jinwoo is about to step up to fight Kang, but Mr. Song stops him and takes a stand. He picks up Kim's sword and asks Joohee to use her magic to cast a physical enhancement spell on him. Kang underestimates Mr. Song, considering him to be a weak C-ranked hunter while he is in the B rank. Additionally, Mr. Song is a mage hunter, and Kang is confident that Mr. Song won't be able to defeat him using a sword as he is an assassin. Besides, he considers him too old to put up a decent fight. I bet Kang never heard of Master Oogway. The two then engage in a fierce sword fight, their blades clashing against each other. With the assistance of Joohee's magic, Mr. Song can match Kang's attack speed despite being inferior in power rank. Kang hadn't anticipated Mr. Song fighting so proficiently, but he recognized that to defeat him, Mr. Song would need more speed. Although Kang manages to land a cut on Mr. Song, Joohee swiftly heals him, leaving Kang surprised by her magical powers. As the battle rages on, Kang finds Mr. Song in a vulnerable position and decides to deliver his final attack. However, Mr. Song catches him off guard by unleashing a magic attack out of nowhere, like a firebender from Avatar. Impressed by Mr. Song's tactics, Kang realizes that Joohee's magic has started weakening, allowing him to overpower Mr. Song. Kang inflicts serious wounds on Mr. Song's body, but before he can deliver the finishing blow, Jinwoo intervenes and stops his attack. Kang realizes that Jinwoo is no ordinary E-ranked hunter. Such a low-ranked hunter can't match the attack speed of a B-ranked hunter. Kang asks Jinwoo how he possesses such power while being in the E rank. Sensing that Jinwoo is intentionally concealing his true strength, he realizes that it might be a case of reawakening. Kang recalls their encounter at the hospital with Jinchul in the past, during which Jinwoo's power rank was very low. He wonders if the awakening occurred after the double dungeon incident. Jinwoo asks Kang the reason behind eliminating all the other people, and Kang begins by explaining that he eliminated the criminals because someone had asked him to do so. However, Jinwoo corrects him, questioning Kang about killing his friends. Jinwoo points out that if Kang had merely wanted to silence them, he wouldn't have tortured them before their deaths. Hearing this, Kang breaks into an evil laugh, triggering a flashback where the man had finished asking for Kang's help in eliminating the criminals. In response, Kang reveals that he doesn't kill people solely for money. Rather, he does it because he finds immense pleasure in it. Back to the present, Kang advances towards Jinwoo to showcase the difference in their experiences. As the two engage in combat at incredible speeds, it becomes difficult for both Mr. Song and Joohee to keep track of their battle. Kang informs Jinwoo that despite Jinwoo's ability to match him in speed and skills, Kang still possesses more experience and ultimately intends to emerge victorious. Jinwoo retorts by stating that the system has already identified Kang as an enemy, and he will only rest after eliminating him for good. With this declaration, Jinwoo's powers increase, and he successfully lands an attack on Kang. Jinwoo stabs Kang with a poisonous knife, but Kang swiftly uses his magic to counter it. Kang finally decides to utilize his ultimate skill called Stealth. He vanishes into thin air and begins attacking Jinwoo while remaining invisible to him. Kang explains that this skill is rare even among top assassins, and the individuals aware of his possession of this skill are all dead. Jinwoo does his best to evade the attacks, but Kang manages to land a cut on Jinwoo's legs. Joohee is about to step forward and heal him, but Kang intervenes, warning her that he will harm her next after dealing with Jinwoo. However, to everyone's surprise, Jinwoo heals himself, leaving Kang shocked as to how a fighter-hunter can use healing magic. Jinwoo then activates the murderous instinct skill within the system, causing his skills and speed to increase even further. He effortlessly dodges Kang's invisible attacks by sensing his killer instinct. Jinwoo then envelops Kang in darkness, and as two pairs of eyes fixate on Kang, Jinwoo pierces Kang's chest with his knife, causing him to collapse to the ground. Kang concedes defeat and asks Jinwoo to finish him off. However, before taking his last breath, he confesses to Jinwoo that they are similar and warns Jinwoo that despite his immense power, the darkness will eventually overwhelm him. After Kang takes his last breath, Jinwoo gains Kang's stealth skill. He also realizes that despite growing more powerful with each victory, he is losing parts of himself in the process. Jinwoo then instructs Mr. Song and Joohee to leave first, as he still needs to complete the raid mission and confront the dungeon's boss. Outside, Jinchul arrives to meet the survivors and apologizes for Kang's actions. He recognizes Jinwoo from the past and notices that he has changed significantly. He then inquires about who defeated Kang. Jinwoo realizes that he won't be able to conceal his true identity for long and is on the verge of disclosing it to Jinchul. But Mr. Song speaks up first, saying that he defeated Kang with the assistance of Joohee's healing magic. Jinchul finds it difficult to believe Mr. Song's claim, as it seems impossible for a C-ranked mage hunter to defeat a top B-ranked hunter like Kang, even with the help of a healer. Nevertheless, Jinchul decides to walk away. Jinwoo realizes from Jinchul's aura that he is an A-ranked hunter and acknowledges that he is not yet skilled enough to confront him. Additionally, the person who requested Kang's assistance to eliminate the criminals turned himself in after the incident. Elsewhere, Joohee shows the essence stone Jinwoo gave her in the double dungeon and asks him if he remembers it. And that's the end of the video. Please comment and let me know which anime recap you'd like to see next. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, goodbye.